everyone, so let's look at LeetCode problem number 1289, minimum falling path sum 2. It is rated hard, but why? It's so easy. Let me show you the approach to solve this problem really easily, efficiently. Even in this problem, we can directly jump on to the bottom-up approach. Okay, so first, let's understand the problem. So in this problem, what we are given here is a matrix like this. And what we have to do here is start from this row and reach to the bottom of the matrix while choosing an element from the row and adding that element to our path. Okay, for example, in the row 1 we choose 1, and then from the second row we can choose between 5 and 6. We cannot choose 4 here because 4 is in the same column as that of 1, so we can't choose two consecutive elements from rows that are in the same column. So what we will choose here is, after 1 we can choose here 5. Just to keep the path sum lowest, we choose 5 here, and then we can choose here 7. Okay, also the entries can also be negative. For example, this can be -6. So after 1 we will choose -6 because that will reduce our path. Okay, so we can have a path like this. Okay, and this will give us the minimum answer, that is 13 length. So that will be our answer to this problem. Okay, so let's move to the approach of this problem. If you want the top down or the recursive approach, that also as usual is available in the comment and in the description. Okay, so what we will do here is make an array dp of size of the number of columns in the matrix. In this case it's 3, so we will make it 3. So 0, 1, 2 will be the indices in both. So what this dp array signifies here is the minimum path up to a row. For example, if we just look at this first row, in the first column we will have, like, for this column for 1, 2 and 3 we will initialize it to 1, 2 and 3 only. Okay, and the minimum path that we will get is the minimum of this array, that is 1. So for example, what I am saying is that if you just had only this part of the matrix, then your answer would be 1, because you will choose 1 and you will reach at the end of the matrix. Okay, now let's say that we have another row 2. So what we will do here is we will initialize dp array with the first elements of the matrix, so of the row. So now we have 1, 2, 3 in the dp array and we are at 2, the second row. So for 4, what should we choose above it to get the minimum path? Okay, so for 4 you cannot choose this one because it's in the same column, so you are left with only 2 and 3. So we will choose the minimum of 2 and 3. Okay, because dp represents the minimum path length in each column that we can get in the previous row. So for in this row, for 4 we can choose between 2 and 3 from where we want to come, and obviously we will choose the minimum path. Okay, so our minimum path here is 2, so we will choose 2 here and we will add the current element to it. So we are making the new dp array, or you can say, let's say temp, or let's say it's okay, let's say temp. This is another array that we are using the elements of the previous dp array. So now we will choose between 2 and 3. So we will get here 4 plus 2, that is 6. We'll get here 6. Now let's move on to 5. Now if we are at 5, so what we can see here is that we cannot choose the element 2. We cannot choose this 2. So what else can we choose here is 3 and 4. So between 3 and 4 we will choose the minimum path, that is 1. So 5 plus 1 will give us 6 again. Okay, now we will move on to this 6. In this 6, what we have is we cannot choose this 3. We will choose the minimum element between 1 and 2, which is nothing but 1. So 6 plus 1 will give us 7. Now we have made an array which represents the minimum path sum up to the second row. How we will get that is by taking the minimum of these elements, so that will be 6. Okay, so for up to this part of this matrix, the answer is 6. Okay, so now let's say we have the whole matrix. So now what we will do is we will consider the dp array as our temp. So now we will have dp array this, and we will delete this. We don't need it now. Okay, we just want the dp array of previous row. Okay, so now if we have 6, 6, 7, so for 7 we can see that we cannot choose this first element. Okay, I was showing you selecting the elements from the matrix only because the elements from the dp array and in the actual array will be same for the for this row, as above it will be just the copy of it. But now for this row we will have to use the dp array, because dp array would have changed. It won't contain only these entries, it would contain the minimum path up to these entries. So let's see this dp array now. We cannot choose this 6, so what we can choose is between this 6 and 7. So our minimum is 6, so our 6 plus 1 will give us 6 plus 7 will give us 13. Okay, now we will move to this 8. For this 8 we cannot choose this 6, but we can choose between this 6 and this 7. So our minimum will be 6, and 6 plus 8 will give us 14. 6 plus 8 will give us 14. And now finally for this 9 we cannot choose this 7, we can choose this 6 and this 6. Minimum will be 6 from both of these, so 6 plus 9 will give us 15. And finally when we will take the minimum element from these elements, we will get 13. That was our final answer. Okay, so that's how we would reach the answer. Okay, now let's see the pseudocode of this problem. We have this function minimum following path sum. It has a grid. Grid is nothing but this matrix that we are given. So we'll first make the dp array. So we'll make the dp array dp, and it will have the size as the number of columns in grid. So grid of 0 dot size. We'll declare this dp array as this. And now first we will initialize this dp array. So we are initializing this dp array by the first row. As we have discussed, it will contain the first row. What we will do is traverse the first row of the grid. So for this we will write a for loop, and in this for loop what we'll do is dp of I is equals to nothing but grid 0 of I. Okay, so we have initialized the dp array. Now what we will do is we will traverse for the number of rows starting from 1. Okay, for example, if we have to just find for this row, so that will be just the minimum element of it. But if we have to find for this row, we'll have to calculate the path from the previous dp array. So we will traverse it like again a for loop for int row. Okay, row is just a counter variable, and row will be less than grid size, and we will increase row, so row plus plus. Okay, now what we'll do inside this loop is we will make a copy of dp array. You will understand it in a bit why I'm doing this, but let's say temp is equals to dp, and now we will traverse the dp array, and for each element like 4, we will look at the previous element and get minimum, such that the minimum is not in the column. Okay, so how we will do that is we will make a minimum function for it, which I will show you shortly. So now what we will again write a for loop, the same for loop that we have written here. So okay, so in this for loop what we will do is we will get the minimum element plus the current element. So our dp of I will be the current element. The current element will be grid of row. Also I forgot to mention that this row will start from 1. This won't start from 0, because for 0 we already have initialized the array that will give us the minimum element. We will have to make computations for the next rows onwards. Okay, so now dp of I is equals to grid row and for I column, and we will have a minimum function. Okay, so let's name it minimum. It will have the dp array and the current column I, for which it doesn't have to consider it. So let's move on. Let's first write the minimum function. So int minimum, what it has is an array and an index, say idx. So what will it do? It will have a variable int min is equals to, say, int min, int max, sorry. You can have any number greater than 100 because that's the limit in the question. Now int min is equals to int max. We will traverse the array for int I is equals to 0, I less than array size and I plus plus. And if I is not equal to idx, then what we will do is mini this variable The min name might give you error in some languages like C++. Now mini is equals to min of array I, comma, the mini variable itself. And after doing this, what we'll do is we will return the mini element itself. Okay, so now we have completed the mini function. Now let's get back to our minimum falling path sum function, and for this will do it will do for this loop will run for all the elements in the DP array. And now after that, as we have calculated the DP in the current, so first of all this should be temp, this should not be DP. Okay, now why I am doing this, why I'm making this copy and passing here temp is because let's say that we have calculated the paths for the second row. So those were like 6, 6 and 7, and for the next row the final answer was 13, 14 and 15. Okay, so 13, 14 and 15. So this was our DP array initially. We have, if we didn't make temp here and passed here DP itself, if we have passed here DP itself, then what would have happened here is that it will update this value itself. So for first, let's say it updated 13, and now for 6 it will see the minimum element, and for the current elements, that's 8, it will choose the minimum element among these two. So these two is 7. So 7 plus 8 will give you 15. 7 plus 8 will give you 15. But if you look closely, the answer for that DP array here was 17. So why this happened? Because we are making updates in the DP array itself. So instead what we do is we make a copy of DP array from in which we are not making any changes for the current row, and then we will update those in the DP array itself. Okay, and for the next element, the new DP array will be copied in the temp. Okay, so I hope you have got this. If you didn't understand anything, write it in the comments. Now what we have the array after the last row, so we just have to return the minimum element. So return the minimum element from the DP array, and that will be our answer. So I hope that you have understood this problem. It was really easy. Tell your views about it. Should it be hard or should it be easy or medium? I think it should stand medium. Okay, so bye bye. Goodbye. Goodbye.